Sisters. I go next Friday to get the meeting done. It's gonna be an expensive arm by the time I'm done.
That's small.
And my luck, it'll get like locked on. Yeah.
I'll let it.
You are ready when you are.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the September meeting of the Human Rights Commission. We'll start off as usual with our introductions. We'll do popcorn style. So start with your name, your pronouns if you wish. If you live in Salem, what ward you live in if you want to share. And guests, you are invited to introduce yourself as well. So I will start. We'll go from Zoom and then go in person. So my name is Kelsey Murray. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the vice chair of the commission. And I'm going to popcorn to Ilana.
Hey there, I'm Ilana Lynn. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a commissioner here and I live in Four Corners. And I will pass it to Dr. Brown.
Greetings, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I'm Dr. Brown, counselor-elect for the city of Salem, and I live in Ward 5. Pronouns are he and him, and I identify as a Black African-American man. And I will pass it to Gretchen.
Oh, absolutely. Gretchen Bennett, and I'm staff to the commission and use she, her pronouns. And I'll pass to Lisa.
Thanks, Gretchen. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Novak. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the commission and I live in Ward 3. And I will pass to Joaquin.
Hey, thanks, Lisa. My name is Joaquin. I'm a member of this commission and I'm a resident of Ward 8. Or not anymore. I'm so sorry.
My name is Robert Dowd. I'm a sergeant with the Salem Police Department over our personnel and training section. And I'm a sergeant now, so
Yes.
that's new since the last time we met. And go ahead, Robert.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Marshall. I live in Ward 2. I'm a member of this commission. I'll pass it to Hope.
Okay, I'm Hope Strayer. I'm a member of the commission. I live in Ward 4 and I use she, her pronouns.
My name is Kate Scrappy. I live in Ward 1. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a commissioner. I think that's it.
We have some.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, hi, my name is Jude. I use they, them pronouns. And I go to Willamette University, so I stay here in Salem.
I'm Josiah. I use any pronouns and I also go to Willamette. So yeah, that's where I live.
I'm Noelle. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Brad Reed. I'm originally from Tennessee, but now I'm in Oregon. I talked a little bit with Miss Gretchen. I'm not going to make anything public right now, but Ms. Gretchen's going to talk tomorrow.
Sounds good, thank you.
Very good.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so excited to have so many guests in attendance. That is just something that we're just always excited to see. So yay, thank you all for coming. We will start with our public comments. So if anyone, we'll start with any submissions. Gretchen, did you receive any?
None received.
Okay, we will now open it up to those in attendance. Are there any public comments from our guests?
I know. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve this meeting's agenda and the minutes from last month's meeting?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. We'll go on a vote. So all those in favor say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Beautiful. All right, all those opposed? All right, the motion passes. Going on to action and or discussion items. Bias crime update. What do we have, Robert?
Since my last time, I'm assuming that Deputy Chief Aguilar presented on the bias crime incidents for the month of, let's see, September? No, July. She probably presented on July's incidents, in August, we had none. I took no data in August of any bias crime or bias incidents in Salem.
Is that a first in a long time?
It's a first one.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, that's interesting. Any questions?
That's pretty.
I think guests can ask questions. Right?
Yeah, Kelsey, would you like to recognize guests to ask questions?
Absolutely. Yes, go
Great.
for it.
How do you determine bias crime?
So bias crime is defined in Oregon Revised Statute as a multitude of crimes can qualify as a bias crime as long as they're perpetrated against a protected class with the intention of being offensive or harassing towards that protected class.
Thanks.
And
Great.
what we hear from the commission are things that are reported to SPD, not captured in the sergeant's report.
Yeah, do you mind if I go a little bit
No,
off?
absolutely.
So one of the things I had talked with Gretchen about, and this was a new one, I think, since the last time we had met, and I don't know that Deb had presented on it, but we had one where we had a woman that called in that said that people kept throwing eggs at her house, and she had an LGBTQIA plus flag that she hung from the front of her house. And it was happening like 5 or 6 times in a row. She had Ring cameras. The Ring cameras never captured anything. There was no workable leads on it. We had officers go out, canvass the neighborhood. None of the other neighbors had seen or heard anything. And so when I think I had talked to Gretchen about it when we met for coffee, but it was another one of those where we can't say for certain the victim feels like they're being victimized because of their flag in their front yard, but we can't say for certain until we can find investigative leads that would lend credibility to the victim being targeted because of the flag or their beliefs or anything like that, right? And so that's one of those ones that's it's really gray, right? Like we think probably that it would be a bias crime because it keeps happening to the same person. It's not like somebody's just driving down the street and hitting all of the neighbors. But until we could do further investigation to show that it was done intentionally against a protected class or with the intention of harassing somebody, there would be no way to qualify that as a bias crime.
That makes sense.
And so, then it also doesn't qualify. So bias incident would be something that doesn't meet the criteria of a crime, but is still perpetrated against a protected class. And so this is one of those ones that's like a third category that really doesn't get reported on in this report.
Thank you for that question and that clarification. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move into complaints of discrimination. Gretchen, did you get anything?
I did. I had 4 situations come in August. The first situation was a person who reported receiving repeated racial slurs and comments from neighbors. There wasn't enough information to kind of be a crime or be able to clarify the person or the perpetrator at the time, but the person is working on documenting their experiences, and we talked about safety planning, and so for now we're just staying connected should anything arise or should they have something to report to Robert. The second issue, a person called and reported being fired from employment. And they said that there was no reason given for why they were let go. And their sense is that it's discrimination as to why they were let go. And they're wondering about it being related to race or sexual orientation. And so we talked about the remedies and the pathways, the Bureau of Labor and Industries and the processes through the company's HR department and BOLI, and agreed to stay in touch if they wanted assistance with that. A third situation is a person's family member called to report their family member who is up in years, elderly, and also with disabilities, that their car was towed and the car did not follow the parking rules at the apartment complex where they lived. Apparently there was a new sticker process and they didn't put on the sticker, and so eventually the car was towed, and the person wanted assistance, you know, kind of advocating for getting that car back without the fees from the towing and everything. So we talked about possible remedies for assisting there. And then lastly, a person reported that they were supposed to have an ADA apartment that was had a number of amenities that related to helping them with their mobility disability. And when they moved back in, they had moved out, the apartment complex had provided them a hotel while the apartment was being renovated. And then when they moved back in, they felt that the apartment didn't actually meet the ADA standards. So I tracked down the apartment and realized it was within a housing and urban development process where there's some folks that do inspections, and got them connected. And so they were coming out to do a site inspection. So that's what I had in August, and all of them, you know, we can stay in touch if dynamics change.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen. Any questions for Gretchen about those?
Question, Gretchen.
Yeah.
Do we have a City of Salem page about like disability rights or anything like that, or knowing your rights?
Well, thank you. We have a couple of pages. I can send you links. There's just one that's the city's page about, you know, how you can request an accommodation if you're doing something with the city. And so there's that whole pathway. And then there's also the Human Rights Commission's piece, which welcomes in complaints and concerns, including for disabilities. And there's also a page that has resources that correspond to the different identities like disability, and there's a couple of links to resources there as well. Yeah, so there's some stuff, but I'm sure it could use a review and fresh eyes on what it could include.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just heard about a resource for like disability rights called Ask Jan. I don't know if it's on there, but it's a job resource. So if someone needs an accommodation, they can type in like what their disability is, and it can let them know like what accommodations are available to request.
Wow.
And I've heard it's a little outdated, but not by much, and so it helps people know what kind of what their rights are at work, and basically help them protect their job if they need that support. So just some of these things seem like they might kind of overlap with that.
I agree, and I'd like to look at it and then see if it fits our webpage. Is it JAN?
Yeah,
Jan?
Job Accessibility Network. So
Copy.
JAN.
Okay, I'll check. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to the Viva Salem tabling application. So for those of you who weren't with us about a year ago, we had previously planned to table at Viva Salem, and then we got word about one of the sponsors, maybe their values not aligning with the Human Rights Commission's values, and so we kind of talked about like a vetting process for events that we're involved in, asking like, does this align with our values and our goals as a commission? So this year we are talking about Viva Salem. So Gretchen, do you have any further information?
I do. So last year was the first year of the event, and then following that, Viva worked on a process and a procedure that kind of lines out and clarifies how it works. So I wanted to bring that back and share it with you this evening. It was also attached in your meeting packet if you got a chance to look at it. And as you may have seen in the email, we're past the time to sign up to be a booth. So I've got two questions for you tonight. And one is, would you be interested in having an information table at the event if you're comfortable with the guidelines, which I'll read the pertinent parts. And then question two, do we have people to be available? The event is Saturday, the 28th of September, and it's noon to 6. And I also want to call your attention to the table that we've already committed to the Saturday prior, which is Pride, September 21st. So just be conscious of that as you're thinking about your availability. The Viva event explains that now sponsors will be approved based upon the applicant's alignment with the event purpose of celebrating the beauty and rich cultural traditions of the Hispanic community. Booths will be approved based upon whether the information and materials to be distributed align with the event purpose. Viva Salem is a nonpartisan event. As such, the city will not be accepting sponsor requests that are political in nature, including sponsorships related to a political party or candidate for office. Later in the detail, anybody who wants to have a table or be a sponsor has to adhere to this list of things. And one of them is that they've quoted Chapter 97. The paragraph is, I agree to uphold the policy of the city to eliminate discrimination based upon, and then it runs the first paragraph that those of you on the commission are familiar with the policy of the commission. So that's an excerpt or a summary of pertinent parts of the document. So if you don't, Kelsey, I can turn it back to you to see, would you A, be open to the idea of participating, and B, do we have capacity?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into any questions or discussion, and then we will move into a vote on whether or not we table. And then if that passes, then we'll move into who can do it. And if both of those things pass with flying colors, we got approval on the table and then also on the people's, then we'll be good to go. So any questions or discussions around Viva Salem?
Will it be the riverfront like it was last year?
Yes, the event's at Riverfront Park, like last year.
Good question. What else?
Whatever booth the city have.
I don't know about other booths. At the time I inquired, there were 2 other sponsors who may or may not have booths, and they were Chemeketa Community College and Salem Health. But I do not believe there were others. I don't know if they have booths, and there weren't others at the time of inquiry. But I don't have the latest on if other things have emerged. We probably talked about a week ago.
Okay. Ilana.
Hi all. So since I wasn't around last year, do we feel like this revision does alleviate the concerns that the commission had? I'd love to hear from people who were firsthand experience.
Lisa, you unmuted.
Thanks, Kelsey. I felt icky last year. I mean, the event itself, I got there very early, and the event itself was very family friendly, very festive, very just positive. And I saw lots of families together, lots of smiling. But there's also there's another aspect. And the question last year was, did we want to be present as the Human Rights Commission with entities that are not aligned with us? And that's where we made a decision to pull. So as far as this year, I feel fairly neutral if things have changed, if those policies have changed. So I'm fairly neutral now. I'd like to hear what others say.
Ilana, if you want slightly a specific, there was I forget if he was a state
Yes.
State representative.
Mannix, yeah.
Okay, okay, yes. Who you may not know, you know. So if it seems like they have they heard the feedback from last year and took that into consideration, and it sounds like there's nobody sponsoring that we would be nervous about. So I'm fine moving ahead with us manning or personing a table. Robert.
Kelsey? If I may, my wife works for a financial institution here in town, and she reached out to the organizer of the event to try to get a table or booth, and the organizer was very specific that there can be no political affiliations, that it's not an opportunity to sell. They don't want anything that could possibly discriminate against anybody. And so I know that there's a concerted effort this year to make sure that that nobody's being left out or being excluded in those regards.
Okay, thank you for that.
The
Other
only
questions?
The
Oh,
only
go
other
for it.
background I give Ilana to this was that it was morning of, wasn't it?
It was that morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were these, I remember getting a call from Gretchen at like 7.
7 in the morning, I think.
Something's gone wrong. There were protests from the migrant and Latino community against the event that morning that are kind of erupted, and there was this whole organized campaign among a lot of the migrant farm worker movement organizations to kind of boycott the event. And so we pulled out that morning. We had committed to a booth, not having done our due diligence. I think there was a dual act of diligence, both on the organizer's part and also our own. But this is further context of the conversation.
Yeah. Other questions or discussion? I cannot see who that is. Oh,
It's Kate. If we, when we ask for people, we want people to take the belonging survey. We just did it. It's coming up again at some point. So if we can get people to sign up and provide their email address to be on the list for that, I think that'd be worth doing this event. So that's the goal, and to bring awareness to the commission. I think it would be worth it. But if something like that happened again, then yeah, absolutely not. My 2 cents.
thank you, Kate. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. So if you vote aye, that means you support the HRC having a booth at Viva Salem. If you vote no, you do not approve of that. So all those in favor of having a booth? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying aye.
Oh, sorry. Joaquin was clarifying, I need to fill out the form tonight, right? And I'm saying, yeah. So
Okay.
Because we're technically overdue in our application.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
cool.
sorry to interrupt.
You're good. All those in favor of the HRC having a table at Viva Salem, say aye or thumbs up. All right, all those opposed? All right, all those abstaining? All right, it passes. All right, so we have said, yes, we would love the HRC to have a table at Viva Salem. Now the question is, who can table? My mom's in town, so I can't, sorry.
The 28th.
28, yeah.
So
Saturday the 28th.
as the resident, maybe only Spanish speaker on the commission, I'm happy to go.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Oh, you're awesome, Joaquin. Thank you.
Who would like to join Joaquin?
I will try, depending on my health. I will try.
Okay.
Same with Pride. I'm going to try. That's why I'm not committing yet, but I'm going to try.
I can do it, Kelsey, not the whole time. This is Kate. I can do it part of the time, at least.
Okay. Perfect.
I have availability at the early part of the day, but then I have a plan to be out of town, out of state near the end of the day. So one thing I'd be looking for is someone who can retrieve the items and take them home with them. And then I can collect them the following Monday, but I can like get you set up and be of assistance near the beginning of it.
And in the past, commissioners have done that too.
Commissioners have done that too. Yeah, I'm not always at everything.
I don't drive, so I'm not
Yeah,
counted for that.
yeah, so I was just noting, we'll need a kind of an end of shift person. You can do that, okay. Kate saying end of shift person, okay.
Okay. Perfect. So we have some split time shifts kind of ish. If your schedule opens up, please join. Gretchen, are you going to put it in the upcoming tabling
I will, and I'll send it out. Yeah.
Cool. So if anyone's schedule changes and they're able to pop it in there, or those who are not in attendance, look for that in an email. Okay, sweet.
Lisa, I could probably do like a 4 to 6.
Nice. Okay.
But it depends on when. Yeah, so I'm doing cross country and we have meets on Saturdays. So I don't know if I'll be getting back based on bus times.
Copy.
But
Okay.
hopefully, I would love to.
Thank you.
So maybe hope. Neat. Okay, great. Moving on, and I don't know if we.
I'm sorry, Kelsey, I have one more
yeah,
thing on
Joaquin.
it. Gretchen,
Yes.
would you send me our Spanish language material?
Yes.
So the last time, I know it's been the same for a long, I don't know, 3 years, but I think I've always kind of wanted to tinker with it.
Yeah.
It's all the same to you.
That is absolutely welcome, and we'll have to coordinate on, it is prime time, on enough time to get it to the printer too.
Yeah.
So, but we'll do that. Okay, great, thank you.
Perfect. And Viva Salem actually aligns with one of the LGBTQIA pluses of Smarty goals. So,
hey,
woohoo! I don't know if we want to table this next item, race-based medicine. I know Hamadi, it was something that he had brought up.
My one question about that, I can recap it and then ask a question if that's all right. You're right. Sarah Jackson at the last meeting brought up concern in case there's any race-based medicine occurring, which I think I understood to be if things are different in the diagnosis or response or treatment based on one's race. And he was concerned if that existed to understand it and try to address it, not have it happen. I think at the last meeting, there were some questions about people that people knew to talk to, like people at counties or at whatchamacallit, like I wondered about the Health Equity Coalition would be interesting to connect with. So I don't know if anybody had connected with anybody. So that might just be the question, but otherwise we can pend till when Hamadi returns.
Yeah, so I work for a county public health, and one of my coworkers does health equity work, and they gave me someone's email from the Health Equity state coalition. So I forwarded that to Hamadi. So maybe we'll have an update when he returns.
Thank you for doing that.
Of course. Yeah, Robert.
I can say that. Earlier this year, when I was in my previous role, I sat on the Marion Pole Community Health Collaborative, and we were working on the CHA and the CHIP and trying to figure out the community health assessment. And a lot of it was over my head, and I was like, how the heck does that, how do I as a police officer have any impact on that? But I sat there and I listened and I took a lot of notes and paid attention. And I know that that is a huge goal of the area healthcare providers in the healthcare system, is to try to provide accommodations to everybody, regardless of what their need is. But I have some of the summaries and stuff that I've received via email as they're trying to form their plan for the next 3 years. So, but I'm sure you probably have them as well, Kelsey.
Speak my language, CHA, CHIP. Ooh.
Yeah. I was the dumb guy in the back that had to raise my hand and go, "Can you explain what a CHA and a CHIP are?" You don't know.
I feel that. Yes. Great. Okay. Well, maybe there will be some county folks that Hamadi can connect with. I don't work in this county, so I'm useless in that way. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love Yamhill County. Don't.
So I guess I think this was something I missed because I came late to this meeting, but are there health disparities? Of course. I mean, that's kind of a non-question, but I wonder what, and we don't have to answer this tonight, of course, but somebody's not here, but what our role would be in that public conversation. I'm thinking a little bit about conversations we've had at the LGBTQ plus committee, and holding public conversations and inviting folks from the community and community leaders. In this case, it would be health leaders and others to have a conversation around these sorts of issues and challenges and have a perform basically an educational service for the public to equip them with the knowledge and resources and skills they need to be their own best advocates and to help navigate that system, recognizing that structural changes, of course, need to be made as well, but that would be a natural place of beginning for me and for our commission.
Yeah, great. Alana.
Yeah, so I just wanted to provide additional context. So the issue that Hamadi brought forward is actually about there's some dated curriculum involved in race-based medicine, which it was taught to treat patients differently. Like if they're having a heart attack, the procedure for a white man and a black man would be different. And so not to speak for Hamadi, but what it sounded like his goal was to figure out if there's any health providers in Salem who are still using that curriculum and find ways to address that and bring it into more modern understanding of medicine.
Thank you for that, Ilana. Yeah, so hopefully Hamadi will have more information or more information next month. Okay.
I'm still waiting to get in contact with Willamette Vital Health for hospice, but I will get back next month, hopefully with an answer for conversations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Thanks, Hope. Okay. Moving on to citizenship and chapter 97. Gretchen, I'm assuming you have an update.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit. What I wanted to do was rewrite the document to try to make it more easy to understand, because that was my objective coming out of the last meeting. I had a couple of additional conversations with our attorney's office and with Fair Housing Council of Oregon, but I didn't get so far as to write something. So I thought I'd share a verbal update tonight, which is essentially, as I'm understanding, and then see if you do want to have further conversation. My other objective is if you wanted to have further conversation, we could invite folks to come and directly talk with you. I'd just like it would help them to clarify the questions and situations a bit, give them a little bit of a focus or agenda with it.
Can you provide some context for our guests?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, actually, would you like to, or do you want me to?
I feel like I'm always the one giving context.
But you might like to.
Okay, so you're Willamette students, you're new to or from Tennessee, you're new to the area. So the Human Rights Commission performs an annual community belonging survey where we try to hear from the public and the community to understand their experiences of belonging and discrimination in our Salem community. And the feedback that we get by way of the survey often kind of scaffolds and or informs work that we do throughout the year. Okay, and so it goes in the field for a few weeks in the middle of spring, and so I just concluded. We also make recommendations to the council because of the survey. Not this most recent survey, but the survey before. We heard from our Indigenous American community, folks who imperfectly but are often synonymized as being undocumented or having challenges with legal status, as feeling very insecure and feeling they didn't have access to resources and couldn't. This whole host of issues and challenges for belonging for the community. And so we were trying to identify ways to support them and to provide protections for that community. Oregon is kind of a national leader when it comes to sanctuary law in the state. It was the first state to become a sanctuary state. And so we have pretty robust protections, especially as the law was amended recently at the state level. So we're trying to identify ways that the city could be and better service those communities. So that kind of is the background for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we had this public process where we brought in leaders who kind of talked to us from SPD to the nonprofit leaders, and kind of narrowed down a possible avenue, if we have one, which is at the nexus of employment and status. Find ways to protect folks from discrimination in the workplace. Is that fair?
That's perfect. And it also, in my opinion, kind of brings in the next item on the agenda, which is sanctuary city, because they're arguably interrelated.
Yes.
Yeah. So I clarified that it does not sound like we have an opportunity locally to change federal employment law as it relates to what's required. I mean, I think simply put, one of the questions is, what is our opportunity? Is there anything legally that we can change about a person's experience? And I haven't seen or found anything as it relates to employment. There's certain jobs where you have to have certain things, and we don't have a way around that. How, to my knowledge, that we found. In housing, I learned that maybe it's a little more nuanced. I learned that landlords can ask for social security numbers as long as they're asking them from every applicant. You can't shift if you perceive someone maybe to be different and ask them for a social if you don't ask everyone for one. So that's important. If a person's evicted and is a completely undocumented immigrant, the fair housing team would want to see the context of the specific situation involved. You know, they'd have questions like, what was the type of the termination notice? What were there any outward indicators of their national origin? They'd want to delve into the specifics rather than speak generally about that. So that's what I was able to learn. I also just continue to get to that question of what would the question I'm asked from folks is what describing the situation, and you provided an example a couple meetings ago of what might be unique about the documentation status versus the national origin, race, or ethnicity. And I think
What was that example?
I think you shared, you had an example of somebody on a street who started to talk with you about whether they had papers to be here, whether they were here as in a legal pathway. And that the mere act, I think we heard about that a little bit from Jenny too, the mere act of being here without the documentation papers can affect a person's experience and how they're interacting with systems. And so a person might be quite comfortable to be here if their national origin is from a different country than the United States, but if they have the papers, so the papers matter, you know, so perhaps, yeah, so, yeah. So if you had example, I guess I would say, if you'd like to have somebody come to the next meeting, we can make that happen, and it would help to clarify questions for them to think about in advance. That would be great.
To have like a lawyer.
Yeah, I could have somebody from the attorney's office, yeah, to come to the beginning, but I'd want to help crystallize the question form a little bit. So if you wanted to have some discussion about that, that would be great.
Okay. Ilana?
So I know that we can't do anything about federal law, of course. But is there anything we can do to add protections for people while they're in the immigration process? Not like, I wonder, I don't know any statistics on this, but I wonder if there is discrimination happening based on what type of visa people have, or like their likelihood of needing a visa. I know that there's always applications for who will need potential sponsorship, which is understandable because it's very expensive to sponsor someone. But I'm wondering, you know, is there somewhere there that we can add protection since we can't go at the federal law?
Thank you. That's a good example of a question that I could offer our attorney for the next meeting. Thank you. Great. I don't know the answer, but I'm making the note.
Okay. Questions in general, but then also like questions that we maybe want to ask city council, but not city council, the city lawyers, maybe when they visit us.
Can we outsource questions? Other people. I mean, like there are people who are more knowledgeable than this than I am. So can I like ask other people in the community? Okay.
Yeah.
And then get back to you on that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You don't have to be on the spot tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phone a friend.
Yes.
All right.
That's all I brought. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I also want to remind the commission that it is open question about where we will arrive with this process. It may not be a legal change in the way that housing status was for us a while ago. It could be well, we want to make an effort of educating folks on their rights, which is already a very established and rich area of public engagement. So there's a lot of resources to tap into that. So anyway, I'm just saying, we're taking this to its end, but it may not in the end be a legal change. Or it's a change.
Would that conversation, like if there are people in the community who are leaders in that area, could we invite them to that meeting, or would you want it to be? I mean, of course, anybody's welcome to come to a Human Rights Commission meeting, but is it like, could we spend more time on this discussion next time? And invite a couple people to join just to ask those questions in person?
Yeah, my first thought is, I think that could only help enrich the conversation to have additional information. It might help to kind of think a little bit about what we're asking of each of the invited guests and help them to be prepared.
Yeah.
You know, so that it's not confusing, oh, we're hoping you'll help us with this and you'll help us with that. So I think with a little prep, just to assist them in being comfortable, yeah.
There's just two people I'm thinking of. So like Levy, who I think a
Oh,
lot of
sure.
people know from Mano a Mano, and who's trying to work on protecting that population within Salem right now.
Yeah,
So just, it would be a good opportunity for him to come ask the city lawyers questions in real time, instead of having to do it through one of us. And then secondly, there's a professor at Willamette who does like immigration rights, who, yeah, you all may know, but her name's Jennifer. She's fantastic. So I think inviting her would be great.
okay. I think that's terrific. I know Levy, and I would need the professor's name in case I don't know. And I'm pausing and looking at the calendar because October is, what's the name of the holiday? And, I don't think it's till the following week. It begins on October 16th and runs through the 23rd. And I think that could be a conflict for Levy, but, we would meet October 9th, so that ought to hopefully would be okay. Yeah, I can reach out to Levy, and then if you want to get me the professor's name, sure. Okay, perfect.
And if he can't make it, he can always like ask you the questions, but
Yeah,
it just allows him to ask in person instead of having to have a proxy.
yeah, perfect. Joaquin asked me about the holiday, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it looks like it might be Sukkot. Sukkot, thank you, very good. So I didn't want to conflict with that.
Okay.
Very good, okay.
All right. Anything else about citizenship, chapter 97/sanctuary cities?
Can we see if there's a time frame where like people are feeling violated in terms of citizenships? If there's a lot of H-1B visas between like the months of April and now, so that housing knows like this is probably gonna affect more people during this time frame.
That's an excellent question. I'm not aware of any data. If I'm tracking this, it seems to be the absence of reporting, the reluctance to report due to fear is what we're working on addressing. I'm not aware of the reverse, but I mean, it might be there as well. Yeah. I don't know. Good question.
Do you know what agencies would have that? I know that's hard, right?
Levy would probably know.
Yeah.
Or Joaquin.
I don't know.
I'll do some pondering on that and poking around about it. That's a good question.
The baby right now. Honestly, before an election, but.
We should also, if we're inviting folks, we should invite legal folks from the community who do migrant justice work, particularly who are practitioners. So like WLC and NWJP and folks who do all that work as well.
Jennifer had an immigration lawyer that was at an event I went to, and she was phenomenal. So she would be really great to have. Just to have a conversation, like what her point was, and this may be a little off track, but her point was like, for people who sign up in the US military to get their citizenship, but then as soon as their service is done, they're deported. So they did their US military service, and they're never naturalized and become citizens. And so one of her areas of expertise is trying to get people their citizenship back because they've already served the US government, so. But she had some amazing points.
Okay. Yeah.
Alana. Oh, sorry, Alana.
I'd also be interested in inviting people from like legal aid or even the state bar, because when I was working in immigration law, that's where we referred a majority of people, unfortunately. And so I know that community struggles with both of those just due to the overwhelming amount of requests from them. So it'd also be interesting to hear how local legal people are dealing with this issue as well.
Gretchen, if you want to send me like a template of the draft that you send out to some of these other community partners, we got a really good connection with Legal Aid Services of Oregon.
Okay.
And their regional director, so I'd be happy to send that out to like an invite to participate in an upcoming discussion.
I'm wondering if this is, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of the game a little bit from our committee reports, but at the process and procedures, we've been talking about special meetings versus regular meetings, and I'm wondering if this is running away from us in a good way and to a point where we probably should have a special meeting for it that's dedicated to this topic as opposed to just an agenda item. But
I think that you're
I would agree with that.
going to go quite a while.
Yeah.
With a lot of participants.
But also to give folks more time to say yes.
Yeah. I'd like to do that. I mean, it's an important topic that like, I remember. Was it Laura? Is that another commissioner or Lauren?
Laura Fouts?
Yeah. Remember a couple months ago, you sent a video out that was from a few years back and it was like Tom Anderson and the community and passing protections and like this is an ongoing conversation we've had for years. So I think it's time to revisit and just have the legal conversation of what can we actually do to make change. If there's anything, because we in this room maybe can't do tangible things. I don't know what I can do, but I'd like to know what legally can we do as a city to make a tangible change. So it's worth that conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think a next step would be I'm thinking about the questions that you all brainstormed a few months ago that helped informed our guest from Woodburn and also Jenny Barishoff, who came and spoke. Do you remember those conversations? You had some thoughtful questions. I wonder if I took those questions plus the questions you've raised tonight, put them together in sort of a list of questions. And then I can take the list of guests that you've all suggested, and as well, you could send me guests that you have in mind. And then bring it back next month for your review and discussion and approval, essentially. And then we could select the month that you want to do it and give it some extra time and have kind of a special space and probably a bigger room, How does that sound like the right order of operations?
Took the words out of my mouth.
Okay, good. All right.
Gretchen, I
Cool.
was assuming that Jenny would love to be there for that as well.
I bet
As
she
well
will.
as Salem for Refugees. I know they have people working with immigration with those refugees that are in Salem. So I think they would want to be able to.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right. So if you have questions that you want to ask our future guests, send them to Gretchen. Or if you have ideas about who we should invite, send that to Gretchen by next month's meeting. Okay, moving on to rent ordinances. Gretchen or Ilana, do you?
Jenny.
Yeah, I can take it. So just a refresher for everyone, at our last meeting, I brought up a concern that I had noticed that a lot of small businesses that catered to our minority individuals in the community were closing down. And when I talked to the owners to find out why, it was always because of major rent hikes, which inspired me to consider if there's anything that the city can do to address that issue. Portland has some rent control for residential, but nothing for commercial. Commercial is more a lot of people are hesitant to go into commercial rent control because businesses have a lot of sway and they're very important to our community. And so they don't want to discourage that. So I just wanted to see if this is something the commission is interested in doing. It could be a very large undertaking. And I'd be happy to invite guests who are much more knowledgeable on this and advocate for this as their day job to come and present to us and give us more information. But I just wanted to see, is this something that we would actually seriously consider? Also, I don't know if I can call on people, but Kelsey, take it away.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. I know that there are, like, you can't increase the rent by more than 10% residentially. Is that a thing for commercial properties? Okay, good to know. Okay. Questions or comments for Ilana or around this topic?
Sure. Okay. I have something. So I also missed this conversation. I'm given the impression that I never attended, don't pay attention. Please disabuse yourself of those perceptions. But I do attend and pay attention. Just not on these things that matter. I had independently, Ilana, I had a conversation with city leadership about not commercial leasing, but the idea of instituting, I didn't phrase it this way, but it can be thought of in part as a renter's bill of rights, and which I know is initiatives around the country have some variation on a theme and apropos of renting. And a couple of the attractive options that I was taking to the leadership was just to name two, having a 6-month notice, advance notice for rent increase, or not allowing evictions to occur during extreme weather events, even if they're pre-planned. I think something similarly could be talked about on a commercial basis. I think, just as a general comment, you're going to get a lot of resistance from folks here locally, warranted or otherwise, in the business community. So I agree with the importance of it, and I recognize that there is a human rights element to this, because folks who are disproportionately burdened by rent increases, whether residential or commercial, are folks who often come from underserved or marginalized backgrounds, and it's a slippery slope, and your status and quality of life can diminish pretty rapidly. I'm wondering, however, if this is an issue that's not best taken up by another commission. I'm thinking now of like the Planning Commission. And I will also say that the feedback that I received from city leaders was, well, we don't touch this issue at the city level. This is a state issue, and we defer to the state. And I think all of us here know that the governor has pretty clear visions on what housing should look like. And I think we should have a conversation as a city around what in the future the city's role may or may not be in various housing areas. I think that conversation is warranted. But I'm wondering if maybe this is an opportunity for public relationships here, Ilana, where we're starting to talk of other boards and commissions who not only have more expertise on this issue, but have the staff and resources to really develop this idea further in ways that maybe the HRC doesn't at this time. But just drawing in a different conversation that was happening that's related, and then maybe giving some direction to this.
Okay. Anything else?
I was on the revenue board. And when you talk about small business owners, having a lot of power, they have a lot of power. So I would say when you say uphill battle, Ilana, oh my goodness, it's going to be an uphill battle. Very worthy one, but anything having to do with taking money away from businesses or property owners, it's gonna be rough. So I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of opinions in that room. So.
I think you can have some teeth working with the planning commission, or looping them into this. I mean, I think a lot of the properties are owned by the same people.
Yeah.
That's just my guess, not factual. So you might be able to get some pull that way if they don't have tenants and they're not making any money. So if businesses keep closing, they're gonna go broke.
I also say, in, as a general comment, folks, I mean, in Salem, we have this big divide between social services and business. And I think that's very real. And it's only real because we breathe life into it. And we have to have conversations across the aisle, so to speak. And we have to do that. And we have to be able to expend some political capital in those conversations. And so it will be an uphill battle, and it'll be maybe a little bit like Sisyphus, and we're going up and down. But I think we gotta try, and I think that there's a lot of value to it. And I think as many folks as we involve in this conversation as possible, recognizing again a lot of the importance of it, I think the better. And whether that's going to coffee with those select few, this real estate owner, whatever it is. I mean, so be it. It needs to be done.
So do we feel like it's worth at least inviting the people more knowledgeable than me to share their wealth of information? Or do we think that we just tag the planning commission committee?
Yeah, I guess that was my question. Is this something that the Human Rights Commission wants to take on, or collaborate / pass it on to someone else, and like they can get our assistance or like brain ideas if they want? Lisa, I feel like you had something.
I'm thinking along the lines of you, Kelsey, the planning commission. I'm wondering if they should be involved in our initial conversations. Is this, creeping into their territory? Not territory, but their domain. So that's kind of the thought I had. Would it be the Human Rights Commission, or is it the Planning Commission? Or the Zoning Commission?
Mm-hmm.
I think about,
go ahead, Gretchen.
No, I was just gonna say I know what you're coming, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're coming from the place of not wanting to see disparate impact on the different cultural communities. You're coming from that lens of equity. What we don't have is all of the mechanisms and legal and development dynamics of understanding, impacts on rents and leases. And there's that whole side that's not our expertise, but is a part of it. And so you can really see your role might be more in trying to understand what is the data and the experience. Like Ilana started to learn about the impact on businesses owned by people of color, just for example. And then maybe it's about informing or sharing information with others, or is one way. Another way is like early on, like Kelsey said, looping in someone on that other side to help us with that part of it, because we don't have that expertise and wouldn't be able to develop it or create it, I don't think. So I don't know. I'm always a fan of like thinking through that conversation, Ilana. So if we had a guest at the next meeting, who else should be there and what would be the questions, would probably be the questions before you this evening,
Yeah, could we do like a joint meeting with the planning commission, or at least like invite all of them to the meeting?
I'd be happy to explore that. We haven't done that before. I'd be happy to explore it and see. I bet you they'd want to take it to a meeting and talk about it. There's nothing, of course, that stops anyone from going to each other's meetings. They're all public, but to do a joint one together, I think there probably need to be some outreach to them to find out about their interest and their priorities and what they're into right now.
Okay. So does it sound like it'd be worthwhile to reach out to the planning commission and just let them know that that we are starting this discussion and see if they are interested in engaging, and then we can invite speakers once we know if we have, them join in.
Yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to the staff administrator of the commission as a place of beginning, if that sounds good. Or if I don't want to step on toes, if others, like I can do that and someone can also reach out to members on the commission, however you prefer.
How do we feel as a commission?
Yeah, it's a good check-in.
Do we want to put to a vote on whether we want to pursue this, or what are people thinking?
My first reaction, not that you asked me directly, but I'm gonna answer.
I did.
Is this feels right, but very not mature. And my concern is we go, hey, Michael Slater, you want to, the president, you want to work with us on this? He's like, well, what is it, and who, and when, and how? And we're like, we have no idea. And I just think that I think we have some learning to do, to Lana's point. And this might be something we take to others when we have a much more developed, robust understanding of what we're thinking about and how we want to approach it. Because ultimately, it's not just a matter of expertise, Gretchen, though I agree with you. I think it's just beyond our mandate at some level. And so we have to, specifically on the renting and the leasing and all that technical stuff, is beyond our mandate. And so we will not be the ones getting this over the finish line, I don't think, on our own. And so I agree with what I said 15 minutes ago around partnerships, but we have to bring something to that conversation more than what we have. So I think it'd be a little premature to reach out to Lisa or Michael, anybody like that at this time, but it'd be something I'd be interested in pursuing as a commission.
So I don't want to speak for everyone, but maybe it sounds like, Ilana, if you want to do a little bit more of the groundwork, a little bit more research, and then maybe bringing in something like if we were to work with the planning commission, this is what we would propose to them or present to them. Would that be helpful for people on next steps for this?
I like that idea, Kelsey. Yeah, I'm kind of with Joaquin. I like the idea. I love the concept. I don't think we're quite there yet. If to meet with another commission, maybe have some more ideas about what their goals are and what we'd like to see as outcomes. So,
okay.
But I think it's a great idea. But yeah, it's something that we can work on.
Okay. Anyone opposed? I don't think we need to formally vote on it, but is there anyone opposed to that? Okay. Ilana, if you need some people power,
I volunteer.
Joaquin has volunteered. Okay. Anyone else interested in kind of hopping on board? Okay. Okie dokie. Go back to my agenda. Community Violence Reduction Initiative. Gretchen, is this you?
Actually, we had a member of the commission interested in talking about that this evening. If you don't mind, Kate, I'll just, great.
All right, Kate.
Yeah, it's me. So I've been going to a lot of the town halls, and it's something that the City of Salem has been hosting quite a bit. I'm sure you know. So in my household, we do a lot of criminal justice reform work, and not my day job, but I spend a lot of hours on it. So there was just one at Salem Alliance. I did not go to the one prior to that. I think it was in Kaiser, but at Salem Alliance, I wanted to just give a debrief on how that went because I think it was closing out a series. So they had some tangible action items that the city is starting to actually act upon, and Celine knows this. So we've talked about this because we went to a neighborhood association meeting this past week, which was eventful. And that was very topical, actually. But the city, it has decided to start doing some peace walks, along with the police and law enforcement and local churches. And one thing that came up in the neighborhood association that was not clear to some of the folks there was the difference between like a neighborhood watch and the police walks, or sorry, the peace walks, not police walks, peace walks. So just to clarify, like some people were kind of worried that it was faith-based only and that there would be like praying along the way and things like that, and that's not the case. So somebody brought up the point, like, I would not go to that because I don't feel comfortable in that environment, and they're two separate things. So like a neighborhood watch is one thing, peace walks are a different event. So do you want to explain the peace walk, because you went to one, so.
So pretty much we met at the Big Lots parking lot. So, you know, it's not like an apartment complex, it's just public. And then we walked along like about a mile or so on streets and sidewalks, interacted with some people that were just, you know, out and about. It was like 7:30, so people we encountered, we gave them like bottles of water, said hi, and we had different t-shirts that said Peace Walk Salem, and we're just sharing why we're doing this. So if people felt like they wanted to pray with people, they could do that. It wasn't like a requirement. It's really up to what you want to do. Then we interacted with some people that were driving by and we're like, ooh, who are they? And they were just happy to see us walking in their neighborhood. And then we got some information about the different areas, because a lot of us, like, either if we hadn't lived there or didn't know people that lived there, weren't familiar. I was like, oh, this looks pretty. And they're like, oh, it wasn't always that pretty. I'm like, oh.
You said 100 people?
Yeah, it was about 100 people. Most of the people that came didn't live in the area, but at the end we had a debrief, and one of the residents, she was just so happy with the amount of people. She's like, this is my neighborhood, and I'm just so pleased with the amount of people that came out. The goal is to work with more organizations to bring more people out as time goes on, and also see if other communities want to create their own peace walks. So like Grant.
So my neighborhood is Grant, very active group. And so I've been talking to them about maybe doing one in the Grant area, which has seen a little bit of an uptick in some activity lately around some of the churches. So we've talked about maybe hosting one of those. So the city's goal is to host about one every week if they can. I think right now it's maybe once a month.
Yes.
And around that Big Lots area, which is by the Taco Bell on Lancaster. And if you've ever driven by it, you know there is usually some sort of something going on. So that's one kind of like community intervention. The second was call in. And again, there was a lot of confusion about what that was, even at the event, town hall event. And it's really, in a way, an actual intervention for people who are at risk of violence or committing violence in the community, or at risk of committing violence in the community. And it had a lot of impact in Seattle. They were able to decrease their community violence by about 50%, I believe they said. So they had someone come speak about how impactful that was and how they turned people who were known gang members actually into community advocates. And the way they did that was they invited them into a community space. They had police there, and they said, if you want to talk to the police, you can, but we can also excuse them and you can choose to turn your life around today. And we will bring in people from colleges, and you can enroll today. You can get a new job today, because there's businesses here who are going to hire you, even knowing if you have like a criminal background, they will hire you. There will be mentors here for you today. There's churches here for you today. So whatever people feel like choosing that moment, they can choose, they can leave, but they can also stay and they can change their life. And some people said, like, they had like a guy speaking about his experience, and he had said, like, I had never had someone give me that choice before. And then these folks walked with me through that kind of time in my life, and now I'm a community organizer, and now I'm helping people in the same situation. And they said that's where like the community actually steps up, takes action, and supports people. And that's a much more involved strategy, but it also has a very real effect. So when we talk about things like the library maybe losing funding in the next couple of years, if we don't do something like, and these spaces where young individuals have a place to go, if we don't have those spaces, then there's more risk for people to be out at nighttime or out on the streets doing whatever, like, that's the younger population, just younger folks in general, not people in this room, I'm not worried about you, but like just kind of acting up. So that's the group of people that they're worried about. And I'm like, but what, if I'm a teenage boy, what am I doing in Salem? What am I doing? Where am I going? What am I doing? So I honestly don't know, unless your parents have money to put you in sports or something, but otherwise, what do you do? What's free? What do you do? So I think we just need more of this, like more community support. But anyway, very great. It was a very positive, they had to expand the room. There's so many people at the town hall, and the Peace Walks have been going really well. And Celine was a trooper and did actually come to my neighborhood association meeting. And it was about 3 hours long, so.
Well, that's all.
Yeah, she's a champion. Okay. That's the debrief. Any questions? Yeah.
So just for the context,
Yeah.
so Gretchen and I went to one of these town halls as well. And Ben McBride, the organizer from Oakland, where it was very effective in Oakland and has since spread to other cities in the United States. So just for the context, this is a demonstrably effective practice when a lot of community buy-in and folks do it regularly. I think for them, they've been doing it weekly on Friday for like 5 years, 5 or 6 years in Oakland. So
Okay, one of the guys was from Seattle, so maybe it was Oakland.
they went to
Okay.
Seattle as well, but it
Okay,
came
good.
out.
I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But yes, that's great.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. So is there an ask and is there a way to that we can?
Yeah, there's another Peace Walk, September, okay, I'm gonna look at the calendar now. 26 at Big Lots, on Lancaster again. So, at 7. So if you'd like to go.
For 3 hours, starting at 7?
No.
Oh, no,
Oh,
no.
That was our neighborhood.
oh, I was like,
You're welcome to come next time. They're not usually that long.
It was probably, I don't know, like an hour. There's a normal or a longer route and there's a shorter one, so if you don't wanna walk as long. But you get to see different people from the community come out too, so like, Chief Womack was there. So you get to walk alongside people you normally wouldn't unless like just do that on a daily basis. And see how they interact and just, I guess, build community in a different community if you don't live out there.
Support your local Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Hey, we're moving on to committee and project updates. Joaquin, you want to start off with well, it's 2 of yours. Just go back to back.
Well,
Community
you know what?
engagement.
And they're really one and the same. So actually maybe
You want me to combine?
You
Yeah.
probably should.
Copy.
Yeah, because the other one doesn't even be on its own yet.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you've been a little ahead of us.
I am. You're right.
I like
We'll
to do
come
that.
back. Yeah, thanks.
With confidence. So I'll start with the community engagement, more community engagement bit of it, and then I'll do the data stuff. We are actually very relevant to our guests tonight. We've been doing these also walking the ball, but not a night walks, where we're going out as the commission and talking to folks around town, around their experiences of kind of a on the ground belonging survey, but not a survey, and it's just us talking to you. And we give you information, you give us information, and we can learn about what's on folks' mind, and we try to take action and to just make community and to make relationships. And our first one was in July, and we went downtown to businesses, and the next one is going to be in October, and we're going to college campuses.
Campus back.
So happy you're here.
So, thank you. I know you knew about it. So the idea of this, and this is our first live example of community engagement. What's your sense of this idea? We are going out to campuses because we recognize that a lot of folks in Salem go to Salem-based colleges, but a lot don't. And we have a lot of transient neighbors, and we want to engage young people who are living here and see what's top of their mind, see if we can engage them, get them involved, maybe get them to come to the commission. You guys are really pioneers in that, so thank you. What's your sense of that? You think that would be an effective approach?
Yeah, I think that's really awesome.
Do folks hunger for that?
I mean, I definitely think so. I know, we're both sophomores, so last year when we were freshmen, they gave us this big talk about the Willamette bubble and sort of this idea. Yes, where the Willamette community is sort of its own bubble, and then Salem is sort of this outer bubble, and the two don't really intersect.
Yeah.
But I don't really think that's an effective way to have a college experience, and a lot of people at Willamette don't think so either. So I think a lot of people would be interested.
And y'all's bubbles burst because the ramp was shut down, so you know what? What's gonna happen if you're.
So you're suggesting a yoga party?
I just heard it was very popular. Good, we're happy to hear that. So we're going to Willamette, we're going to Chemeketa, Western Oregon's campus in Salem, Corbin.
That's the.
That's it, okay, cool. So that'll be in October, and so I invite commissioners. Hey, I invite our guests to come and the campus, what happened?
We don't have a date yet. Hope
we
is asking,
do
do we have a
have a
date
date.
yet? Well, we had a date, but then we heard it wasn't a good date for folks. And then
Oh.
I thought what I need to do is confirm the good dates at the campuses.
Right.
And then confirm your availability, so I'm still working on that.
That's a lot of confirmation. You think October's gonna be doable?
I hope so.
Okay, well, TBD, we'll be reaching out over email, but that's that update. We're looking forward to it. The last one was well attended by commissioners and was successful, and folks actually resulted in folks calling Gretchen and having an engagement. I only took a picture of it first night, but I was downtown and I saw posters and people's names still up, and I was like, wow, that was great. Months later, so I'm sorry.
What are you trying to get people to do, like interact with the community?
We just want to talk to folks and kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of spread our gospel a little bit. And here's who we are, here's what we're about. But also listen to them and understand what's top of mind for them when it comes to what's going well, what's not going well for belonging, discrimination in Salem, and try to provide potentially an avenue for them to get more involved and to I'm gonna retire the religious metaphor, but get them involved and see what we can learn from folks and see what we can do better here on the commission. So it's been again the one data point, but it was a good time. So we're looking to the last thing I'll say about that was we're looking to get to Gretchen's point a moment ago to events where folks will already be congregated, so we're not reinventing the wheel. I don't know how many people are on the Willamette campus, take my survey, or whatever. You're like, no, thank you. So we're going to people where they already are. So.
Well, Keenan, are you gonna do one campus per day, or are you gonna try to hit all 4 of your intended campuses in one fell swoop, or?
So I'll answer you with what we had talked about, but that may change based on what Gretchen learning. So in terms of the campus availability, we had discussed going in pairs to different campuses and kind of simultaneously hitting a bunch of campuses and then reconvening, or maybe not reconvening, but convening together and then getting our marching orders and going out. So maybe 2 couples or 2 pairs per campus. I don't know what it will be depending on who the commission attends, but that was the original plan. If we can't swing it where Chemeketa doesn't have an event on the day we want to go and it works for everyone else, then maybe we'll make an exception of Chemeketa another day. That may just be what ends up happening, but that's the plan.
Okay.
What are some new students? What are some ways that we can successfully meet most students, I think?
I don't know if this is possible. You can reach out to the Willamette Instagram accounts or like the college. The
Willamette Instagram.
Yeah, or possibly like the events board, because every day, like everyone gets an email basically with events at Willamette. Yeah,
Good job
so,
for us.
and.
Congrats, take
and-
notes.
Possibly be like,
Yeah. The email was today, yeah, it's the action.
Yes.
You want the
Yeah.
specifics on that. Ilana, see, you said it, there is one. SEAL might also help, the Office of Student Engagement and Life and Leadership. They do more like club and like student body oriented things.
I think there's also a specific club that's called community action or something, or civic engagement.
Yeah.
Yes.
That might be willing to.
Thank you.
It's like you just pop out of the sky.
Ilana?
So for Willamette specifically, some of y'all might not know this, but their cafeteria is the closest food to the Capitol. Now that the like food's closed, so it's where we all go to eat. And they usually have like little tables right next to the line to go in to eat. And I would often see people tabled there. So I don't know, students, if people actually engage with those people and like it, would love your feedback, but that could be a place for us to go where people congregate.
We're getting blank stares, Ilana, here and there.
It's been like hit or miss.
Yeah, I
for
have
some
personally, unless they have a little snack.
Yeah, there was a table today, but I could not tell you what it was.
Yeah.
Who's not a lot better, by the way? Predates you, but capture who's not a lot better.
The cafe is great.
Cafe's great.
Oh, maybe that's a better place to just hang out. Be like, I am also a cool kid. In my 30s. Oh, hopefully better. No fan.
Loved that. Loved that. Okay, any questions or comments for either of those committees?
Well, I'm not done. That was just my first, that was part A.
Okay,
I'm very
Joaquin.
long. I'm not done with my brevity. The second part was the data, Vice Chair Murray. And that was, you know, the data project is going well. And actually Dan, who's the ArcGIS manager, at long last gave us an actionable thing to do, right? To fill out and complete and to help really inform his work to get us that product. We started filling that out in earnest, and this sparked a lot of thoughtful engagement and conversation. And so I think I'm under no illusion that, you know, we're not gonna get that done next meeting. But we're working on this kind of serially for the next couple of meetings to work our way through this and get that back to Dan. And my hope is that once Dan receives what we're finishing, all these sheets and commentaries and narratives and all this stuff, he'll be able to talk about what something's gonna look like in real terms. So my hope is, well, I won't give a timeline, but in the new year, we're talking about developing an actual website. So yeah, that'll be good. So all around positive, and we're actually getting somewhere with that now. So it's come a long ways from a crazy idea. Any other comments from committee members about either of those things?
I would love to join with the like university engagement. Cool. Don't know if I can. Cool. Depending on the date and the time.
Copy.
But I want to.
Very good.
So.
Thank you.
We'll make sure to schedule time.
This isn't for campus tours.
Yeah. So that's it for me, Kelsey, now.
Okay, perfect. Any questions or comments? All right, nice work. Robert, Homelessness Town Hall.
Yes, thank you so much, Vice Chair Murray. I will pass around, if you guys want to pass them around either direction. I have here the updated flyers for the town hall, as well as the run-up show. I'm actually gonna wanna, because I'll be able to.
I'm sorry.
Myself. So some background information for our guests. The Human Rights Commission had the idea of hosting a homeless services town hall to educate the community about the initiatives that are being done to address homelessness in the city of Salem and navigate individuals to permanent housing. And as we were looking at the guests to invite, there's so many amazing organizations doing such great work in the city of Salem, but we wanted to also make sure that we were providing enough time for, you know, each of these organizations to speak. So the organizations that we invited, were organizations that we knew that the city of Salem had, you know, had, you know, direct investments with, previously. So those, organizations that, will be presenting on the 24th are the city of Salem's, their police department's, homeless services team and their outreach and services livability, SOS. I can never remember what SOS stands for. But those teams, the Salem Housing Authority, Church of the Park, Community Action Agency, and Marion County Lead, which is timely, given, you know, some of the rollbacks for Measure 110. And so we've, you know, narrowed down, you know, the time limit. So the doors were open at 5:30. We had, we sent out information, I think, for organizations that wanted to table. Gretchen, did you?
Yeah, I have 5 for sure. And I've confirmed, I have 5. Yeah, I didn't bring the names of them though,
No, that's fine.
but we have 5.
So yeah, so we'll have additionally 5 organizations that will be tabling, sharing additional information for those that weren't able to take the stage, essentially having a dedicated time slot. We were able to work with Chariots, and Chariots has graciously offered to provide transportation to anybody wanting to attend the event for free. So they'll just have to let the driver know, you know, they're attending, you know, the town hall, and then afterwards, you then let the driver know they're, you know, returning back from the town hall. And they'll provide transportation to and from. And so really happy that Chariots, you know, offered to do that for us. So that's really all I got for updates. I do encourage you guys, you know, take some of the flyers if you guys want digital versions of the flyers. Reach out to Gretchen and I, you know, hang them up around, you know, Willamette if you guys, our guests wouldn't mind, or where you work, help us spread the word. No pressure, but if you feel inclined to do so. We do need, I think it would be helpful to have a couple people that are, you know, interested in possibly helping with setup. I imagine that would probably want to maybe get in roughly around 5, Gretchen, if possible, to set up the tables, or I don't know what that looks like.
I'd opt for 4:30, if that's
4:30,
okay, cause some of the tabling folks would like to come at 5 to get their table set up for 5:30. So if we have the tables working on that at 4:30, I think that would be great if there's setup availability.
Yeah, so if there's anybody that wants to help set up at 4:30, we'll be there helping set up tables, and then additionally just having some folks greeting individuals as they come in. It's a great opportunity also for us to talk about the Human Rights Commission and what the Human Rights Commission does. It's a good opportunity for us to interact with people. One thing that I did want to bring up to the commission, I wanted the commission's input, and I'm so glad Linnell joined us, is that at last meeting, Linnell had kind of wanted to talk about who is homeless, and kind of just really, you know, dispelling some of the stereotypes and myths that people have about individuals that are homeless. And there's 10 minutes in there for opening remarks, and I don't believe I would need 10 minutes to introduce all of our speakers. I wanted to know what the commission thought and what Linnell thought about, you know, kind of just taking 5 minutes, you know, kind of just describing, you know, like the individuals that, you know, we serve in the city of Salem. And so I guess I wanted Linnell's thoughts, if she would be interested in having 5 minutes at, you know, the beginning of the program to kind of, you know, describe and, you know, explain, like, these are the people, these are the human beings that we have the opportunity to interact with, and we have the opportunity to serve. And then what the commission thinks about yielding 5 minutes of time at the beginning of the program for Linnell.
If that time was available, I would be honored to try to share that. I'd want a little bit of input and direction from you guys, because I've written like who's at warming centers, who's likely who are the people that are homeless? And I did that from when I was first volunteering, and I was shocked. You know, without knowing it, I had my own perception that it's those people that look like bums on the street corners. I was going to be totally nice to them. But to find out that there's dads, there's moms, there's women with kids, there's people who have full-time jobs, there's people who are probably cashiering you at Fred Meyer and are going down an embankment to sleep in a tent and hope that when they come back to their tent, they still have their belongings. But there's also the people that, you know, are very hard to be sheltered because we have a lot of mental illness and people who can be harder to like. So, you know, if we're trying to share what the city is doing to address homelessness, I don't want to misconvey or not convey, you know, the broad spectrum, but I don't want to also validate that it's all those drug addicts and criminals and people who are crazy. So I'd want to include that you know, those individuals are part of our homeless population, and there's moms with kids, there's dads who've lost everything, there's people who had a house and a car and a full life, and they had cancer and the medical bills were more than they can afford, and they chose to give up their home to have a life and be able to pay some medical bills to keep living. So I think I'd want to balance it with, you know, the stereotypes are accurate for some people, but there's more reasons behind that than just the surface, you know, oh, a drug addict or a criminal. It's not like that. It's people who are struggling in so many ways. And many people weren't doing any drugs until you need to stay up all night to keep yourself safe. So I think I'd want direction because I tend to want to just share it all, and that's more than 5 minutes can hold. And I also don't want to have that 5 minutes validate the negative perceptions. So I'd want to really have that balanced.
If I'm gonna make a suggestion, Lynell, sounds like you're interested in that. Perhaps and I'm so glad you are. I think maybe if the rest of the commission has no objectives, Lynell, you, Gretchen, and I could, you know, schedule a call, you know, before the event or thing, just to also make sure that, you know, we're, you know, you kind of have, you know, some ideas to talk about. You can address some of the things you mentioned, Lynell, and then we can go from there. But if there's no objections, I would be happy to yield 5 minutes at the beginning of the program for you.
Do you think that we could, I know we've combined, we were originally 15 apiece.
Yep.
And we combined and we reduced down to 20.
Yep.
But I think we could give up even a little bit.
Yep.
Additional time if it helped Lynell.
Yeah, we've also
enough
got
time.
We've also got, yeah, and there's also 5 minutes on the back end, and there's some wiggle room. So, yeah, Lynell, you can. I'll send out an email to you this evening or tomorrow, and we can get a call scheduled.
Okay.
And I'm also happy to help set up. And if I know how many tables there are, I can also bring flowers.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'll let you
thank you so
know.
much,
I think you wrote me that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention the Community Action Agency's outreach team has volunteered to be at the event as well to help connect with individuals that might be experiencing homelessness and might need some additional assistance navigating resources, or might have, you know, questions. Their outreach team has worked pretty closely with a lot of the organizations I'll be presenting, so they'll be able to kind of help our presenters take some additional time to help answer questions for individuals. So
Great.
Robert, if I may, I think unless you know otherwise, we could also probably use a volunteer to run the AV slides and someone to hold up the signs for the
you know what?
time
Yes,
cards.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we'll need somebody to help kind of, you know, be a timer. They'll give visual clues for individuals. When I send it out to the speakers, put instructions, I think we would provide cues for them at the 5 minute mark, a 2 minute mark, and then closing colored pieces of paper and I'll find the color pieces of paper and laminate them, but it'll be like green, yellow, red. So green light, yellow light, red light. And then I think for slides, Gretchen, I think maybe it would be easiest to have the computer, because we'll be combining all those slide decks, maybe on the podium on the stage, but there's like a clicker that could just. The city doesn't have one, I could
Okay,
try to source like, just like a presentation clicker, and the presenters can just.
I'll bet we do. I'll check on that and get back to you.
But I think having somebody to help kind of, because some people's microphones, like some people talk louder and some people talk quieter. Maybe having somebody that would be interested in learning the AV piece of it from the AV booth to kind of help just troubleshoot those issues that come up.
Thanks.
Thanks, shoot it.
I have a question.
I'll also come early and welcome folks. No good physically to setting up, but.
You're great at talking to people, Joaquin, so.
You'll be a
you'll
greeter
be
for
a
us.
great greeter.
Also, just a huge kudos to Robert.
Yeah, thank you.
For organizing this, and for Gretchen for supporting him, and Linnell volunteering, and everybody who's making the effort to make this a great event. So thank you, Robert.
I have a question.
Yeah, Linnell.
And yes, a huge thank you to Robert and for all of you for even doing this and for the amazing coordination and organization to make this happen. I'm very grateful. And I guess I just want to make sure that, you know, if this is an opportunity for so many different things for people experiencing homelessness to connect to resources, and we have a lot of those events already. But we can never have enough. So having that available is amazing. Having people who are just, you know, wanting to know what is the city doing? Why do we still see people in piles of trash? And, you know, I love, Gretchen had prepared a summary a while ago, and I'm sure you still have something like it, but like, where were we a while ago? And now we have this place, that place, the other place, how many beds we've added to permanent supported housing, to affordable housing for, you know, shelter beds, being able to show how much is being done and how much the SOS team is doing, without talking about how many tons of garbage they've picked up. And also, you know, is there outreach happening to the people who complain, so that we're not just talking to the people who need resources and preaching to the choir, but the people who make complaints? Is there a way to follow up with them and say, you know, I know you've had a lot of concern, and, you know, we're having a town hall that can really address some of the questions you have about what's being done, what still needs to be done, but how, you know, how far we've come and how far we still need to go, just like women's rights and gay rights and everything else. There's a lot of progress and we still have a long way to go. But are we also contacting the people who don't like those people, don't want them around, have made complaints, so that we're not just preaching to the choir, but maybe also changing hearts and minds?
Thank you. This is Gretchen. That's something I could do more of. I've done it intermittently, but probably not systematically. And so I'm glad you brought that up tonight. I'll work at that. That's part of my daily diet, is those conversations. And so I can work on that more. I'm glad you said that.
And if it was able to be posted, like on where the link is that says, you know, if you have a concern or a complaint about.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah,
right
I'll talk to
there,
the
catching the people who want to complain.
Yeah, yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, we posted like next door Center 50 Plus. I know the city runs Center 50 Plus, so, but we invited like the elderly community, sorry.
I did a couple of weeks ago send it to Center 50 Plus, and they said they'd get it out to their folks. I don't think I've shared to Nextdoor, so that's a good idea.
Because they complain the most.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't go on Nextdoor
Good
because
tip.
of that. It's just really negative.
Sure. Maybe. Let me think about that. Yeah.
I have seen it on social media, so.
Oh, good.
I was speaking to someone about just like community stuff, and they're like, oh, I saw the flyer, and they like showed me, and I was like, oh, cool. So,
Good.
and that was outside of the city limits, so that was in Marion County.
Yeah, and there's a spot for people to ask questions. I wanted, when we, designed this event, we wanted there to be room for the community to ask questions. So encourage people that do have questions about the services that are, being provided or what's being done, to submit their questions ahead of time. Those questions will be moderated and, filtered, and I have access to people, people's slides ahead of time, so we'll be able to kind of filter out some of those questions that, might have already been addressed, so we're not, kind of just repeating, and we're able to get some tough questions answered, but, definitely encourage people, or if you yourself have more questions for, our provider organizations, scan the QR code or visit the link. Send them out there.
Good job, Robert.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Robert. Any questions or comments? All right. Seeing none. Move on to the LGBTQIA+ Intersectional Rights Task Force. Kira is not here. Okay. I can go ahead and give the report if folks are cool with that.
Former chair.
Former chair, Murray. Ooh. So a big thing that we're working on now is planning the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is in November, on November 21st, at 6 p.m. It's gonna be in Laux Auditorium, correct?
Correct, and November 20th, not 21st.
Oh my gosh, 20th. Oh, it's my mom's birthday on the 21st. I got confused.
Oh,
Oh
like,
my
where did
God.
21st come from? That surprised me. That explains it.
Surprise. I had my notes here and then whoops.
It's an international meeting.
Yes, so we are talking about like what speakers are we going to have. We are hopefully getting connection, an answer maybe from Joaquin, I'm calling you out, just kidding. From someone, but we're also looking for maybe some like a local speaker from the community. So we've brought this to the committee, but if anyone in general has ideas for someone who is trans or gender expansive, who would be willing to speak at the event, that would be great. If you want to reach out to Gretchen. Let's see, Pride tabling, Capitol Pride at the Park is on September 21st. It's from 11 to 6 p.m. It's always super fun. Lots of booths and so much going on. So we will have a table there. If you're able to table, please join us, even if it's just for an hour. I will be setting up there, and we're gonna have a good old time. And then also, so looking at our community belonging survey, something that was brought up a lot was what spaces we're welcoming, especially for the queer community. The library was brought up a lot. And so we kind of were talking about how we can identify safe spaces, safe and welcoming spaces for the LGBTQIA+ communities. So that's kind of just in like the brainstorming phase. I think that's all I had. Other committee members who were there, do you have anything to add? Okay, perfect. Since we have so many guests here, I would like to propose or put out that anyone is welcome to join the committee. You don't have to be a commissioner. So we would love if anyone would be interested in joining. Please chat with Gretchen. We meet once a month for about an hour. And if I do say so myself, we're all pretty cool people.
I would second that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kelsey,
Yes.
for your last question about what are safe spaces, I think Salem Pride would be a good place to ask that question if people feel comfortable answering.
Yes, agreed.
You can maybe even have a poster board that says, what are your favorite safe spaces in Salem?
Oh, wow.
That's a good idea. As a conversation started.
Detailing?
I am indeed.
She is
Why
now.
do you think I'm asking?
I'm also gonna be there.
I believe our time overlaps perhaps, so look at that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, if you cannot table at Pride, We still hope to see you there. Okay. Process Review Task Force. Ilana.
Hey all, so just a reminder of what this is, since I think this is I'm pretty sure this is my first report back to the commission. So my lamp is broken, and so my lights are just slowly fading, and my blur is pretending that I don't exist either. Sorry. But so this came about because we decided that there were some situations that would have benefited from an increased structure for the commission to fall back on. So that way, in situations where it might get a little hairy or we don't know how to handle a situation, we will have guidelines to help with that. So what we have done so far is we talked about all of the things that we would want guidelines for. And so we've assembled a list of that. And we've talked through how we are going to make those guidelines, what would be appropriate for us. We are centering keeping the commission an engaging, safe space for the public to be. But just putting in some more structure around that. Our next steps are going to be actually drafting these guidelines, and of course the commission will have final say on all of these. We're just the worker bees in the back who are putting it on paper. I think that covers it, unless anyone else has anything they would like me to add or would like to add themselves.
I want to applaud you, Ilana, for chairing this task force. This is the first time Ilana's chaired an entity here on the commission, and they've done a fantastic job at it. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, moving to, well, I guess any questions or comments for the Process Task Force? All right, cool. Seeing none, move on to Salem Speaks Up. That's me. Hi. So we had our first meeting for Salem Speaks Up. For some background, Salem Speaks Up was an event that was started many years ago, celebrating and focusing on the International Declaration of Human Rights, which is from the UN, that was signed on December 10th, 76 years ago. Well, at least 76 years and 3 months. So we are planning an event. Last year was the first event in a couple of years coming back from COVID. So we have a variety of community members on the planning committee. It's going to be on Tuesday, December 10th. Doors are opening at 5:30. Event starts at 6. We're trying to have a couple of different musicians playing during like the welcome and like some transition points, really focused on lived experiences. We're kind of exploring doing a little focus on like fair housing and just housing in general, and also focusing on, and every time I say this it makes me sound not cool, but young people, getting the youth involved. Oh boy. How do we bring them into the event, but then also like get them involved in the community? So yeah, basically the event is going to be an open mic. Hamadi has been voluntold, but also he volunteered to MC the event again. So to do the welcome and to field people's comments. So people will have an opportunity to step up to the microphone and kind of talk about any experiences or complaints or celebrations of human rights in Salem. Yeah. Any questions or comments for the Salem Speaks Up?
Did you say where it was going to be, Kelsey?
Ooh, that is TBD.
Got it.
We're exploring a couple of different places. The YMCA. I closed the notes. That's all I remember. The YMCA. Louds, maybe.
It was, but Kelsey, I can update you unless I misunderstood, the
Please.
group wanted Laux as the first choice and I was able to get
Yes.
it.
Oh,
So I do, once again, we're at Laux, so get comfortable at Laux.
we'll just
What's
say,
up?
you know,
I like the idea of hosting events at Laux because it is right there to the library. I think if, you know, the more awareness, you know, the more often we can get people to the library, I think.
well, that and we do so much at Louds that it's just like our venue at this point.
It's like our venue.
No, and that's what matters, because when people think of an HRC event, they may just kind of go to.
Like immediately
Louds,
think
and if it's not
Louds,
there, they're
yeah.
like, oh, well, where is it? And
But we
show up an
did-
hour late and they don't know where to go, and I would have done it before my life.
But we did have a very good time at the Y and
Yeah.
it was a positive experience.
Yes.
And Lisa had
Thank you,
pre-researched
Lisa.
the
Yeah.
the
No worries.
availability and the group was grateful for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no worries. Yeah, Laux sounds great. I will be there.
Woohoo.
Thank you. Good.
Great. So we're gonna start working on marketing. I think last year we could have done a better job marketing, so we'll be doing better that way. Okay. Equity ask and staff updates, Gretchen.
Yeah, I have a few things. I wanted to just let you know, Monday night, there were a couple of proclamations you might have been interested in. They spoke about Hispanic Heritage Month and also about seniors. And there were groups there representing senior communities. And next month, we anticipate a proclamation related to white cane safety for people with blindness or low vision. And then you'll get an email from me about this, but the city's annual volunteer recognition event, which aims at celebrating volunteers, including all of you who serve to volunteer with our Human Rights Commission, is going to be coming up on Sunday, October 20th at Laux. Doors open at 2 p.m. and the program starts at 3. So, and they haven't announced the winners. The winners will get notified after this week. And then those decisions get made later this week. That hasn't been made yet. And then, whatchamacallit. But it'll be revealed that night, essentially. So. Yeah,
Exciting.
and that's it for me. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Community calendar. Hope.
I unfortunately did not have time to prepare one, so it was not sent out, and I apologize. But there's not one this month, but I will have one for next month. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we talked about a couple of events, so put those
Yeah.
on your calendars. And we look forward to next month. Member remarks and announcements. Are there any? Okay, great. All right. That was a jam-packed meeting, y'all.
Yeah.
Proud of every single one of you. Okay, well, I think that's about it. Thank you all so much for joining. Especially our guests, always a pleasure. Hope everyone has a lovely evening. If you are traveling, travel safely. And hopefully see everyone at Pride and then the homelessness town hall.
Great.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you all.
Okay. I'm told you don't have to, but we may. So it's a good question. That's a good fair question.
So I have a question for our guest. What brought you here tonight? Just out of curiosity.